everybody? It's Henry here, and in this video, we're going to be doing a one-on-one coaching session with one of my new students, Aaron, a fantastic agent in Miami, Florida. He went from leasing, and we're teaching him the transitional process to go from that leasing agent to a master commercial negotiator. So in this video, you're going to learn about how to maximize your income when it comes to investment commercial real estate. So what's up, everybody? Henry here. I got a good friend of mine and coaching student, Aaron. We're going to be going through basically a one-on-one coaching session live with you guys here on Zoom. Hope you guys enjoy. So Aaron, thank you for coming on the show, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Henry.
Of course. And so Aaron, let's give the audience a quick 60 seconds on yourself. Share with them about where you're at.
Okay. So I'm in Miami Beach, Florida. I'm now in Hollywood, Florida, and been in for about a year and a half. Real estate started off more on the retail leasing side of it. Been doing a lot of retail leasing and now looking to continue with a focus in that, but shift a little bit more to the sales side. Still in the commercial sector, but shifting more towards the sales side.
Cool. That's awesome. So how's the weather, by the way, in Miami today? I'm a little jealous. Pouring rain here in Jersey.
It's been pouring rain recently too, but when it's not pouring, it gets pretty nice.
Yeah, so I'm a little jealous, my friend. So listen, first and foremost, all right, so let's dive into something. I know we've been going back and forth off camera a little bit about negotiating. So tell me about a current situation you got going on, and then let's talk about some next steps and things that we can make adjustments on.
So I've got a property about 40,000 square feet retail strip. I got a price for 25 million, which, doing the backhand, being in the retail leasing sector, I can at least do a, back of the note guess on the rents and everything. And probably the cap is not, it's probably not a great cap, but end of the day, you just got to get in there and you got to see, 25 is just what the person starts off with, right? So you got to see where he goes. Sure. But without a specific buyer, without, people behind me, how am I going to push? Obviously I need the specific rents, I need him to really open up and be able to give me a lot more real info than just obviously back of the note guessing.
Yeah, understood. So just to clarify, so everyone understands here where we're at. So you found a property off market. They said they're considering selling. They gave you a number for what, 25 million?
Yeah, well, they said, yeah, exactly. They consider, they're not planning on selling. It's a great, it's a great return for them right now, but 25.
So they threw out a number 25 million. Okay, cool.
Right.
And then they basically, you got some data online. You did your own back of the napkin kind of financials and kind of said, all right, well, based on where they're probably at, that's probably not a great. Right. All right, cool. So listen, let's talk about this because this happens a lot, right? Because I have, just to kind of give you some mindset here and for everyone listening, my teams are typically sourcing somewhere between 50 and 100 opportunities a week, okay? So that means we're underwriting hundreds of opportunities a month, right? And listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, all the few hundred work as great deals? Absolutely not, right? There's gonna be a lot of those deals that are not fantastic, that are not great opportunities that, listen, they just want way too much money. And guess what? That's okay because we are calling people to see if they're open to selling. And then we get to make the distinction of how do we make money on this opportunity. And some of them you're not going to make money on, and some you might make a lot of money on, right? So it's just the averages, right? So it's like, okay, listen, just know, and like I feel like I get this question a lot, is that you can't get hung up if they want some stupid number. Right. Like just because you're doing all the right things and you got an opportunity. Freaking amazing, right? And I'm clapping for you. That's great. And like what we're looking for are the people who are super motivated to sell, okay? And or who are open to selling the property at a price that is fairly appropriate for the circumstances, right? And guess what? And if they're not, cool, man, it's all good. And it might just mean that this deal, you're not gonna make money on it yet because there's gonna come a point that if you keep in touch with them, they're eventually gonna sell it, right? They're eventually gonna sell it. So it's just understanding that like, listen, like it just might not be a perfect deal for you today, right? Or for your investors today. And then the next deal that you find when you call them up and it's a similar circumstance, instead of saying 25 million, the guy's gonna be like, I'm 83 years old. And honestly, it's a pain in my tail to keep this property. I want to sell it for 15 million. And at 15 mil, it might be a decent deal. So just like, it's just getting caught up in like, just because you have an opportunity doesn't mean they're going to be selling for a price that's going to be anywhere near where you need it to be in order to make money. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So law of averages don't get stuck on, even if you like the property, but don't get stuck on if the numbers don't work because he's throwing out a high number.
It just might not work. And just know that like, listen, the other big thing to pay attention to is like, yes, 100% the law of average. I agree 1,000%. Like all the deals might not pan out. That's fine. So, but just know that like, yes, the law of averages, obviously, and of course, you're going to have like these, there's going to be deals that are going to be great and there's going to be deals that aren't. You just can't get hung up on every single deal just because you love it and it looks pretty, right? Because we're here to make money. However, it does not mean that you try everything in your power to make money on every deal, okay? And what I mean by that is like, okay, let's give this scenario. The guy wants $25 million for a deal that you might not think makes sense. I would call your investors and say, hey, here are some of the metrics, right? At what number would this be a stupid deal? Okay. Because here's the thing. If this guy is not going to give you any more financials, it's very hard to make an offer. Very hard.
Right.
Near impossible. Okay. And guess what? That guy probably knows that. So what I'll typically do is I'll talk to my investors and just say, listen, I don't have a lot of details. We both know this market. At what number is it just like a stupid home run, clear as day deal? At what number? And then they'll say like, listen, it's probably a home run at probably 12 mil, 14 million, 15, whatever it is. That's something that like obnoxiously low. It's okay. Right? Perfectly okay. But what you're going to do is that you're going to present that offer, write it up as an LOI. And then guess what? Who cares if they accept it or they decline it? It does not matter. Right? The point is getting something real in front of them, because you know what these sellers get 24/7, 365? You know what they're getting? A lot of people who call them and say, hey, I want to make an offer. And they never send them an offer. They never send them an offer. So what ends up happening is that these people get calls and more calls and more calls and more calls about people who are just fly-by-night BSers who aren't going to send them anything. So what I like to do to separate myself is I will always send them an LOI. And don't get me wrong, this LOI is 100% contingent on the financials, right? 100% contingent. That's okay. Right. But the point is that you can't just submit something. You can never not submit something. That's the problem. Submit something. Let them tell you no. Don't just assume like, oh, they're not going to accept $10 million. You have no idea. But now we're talking on that part. The one other thing that I also want to touch base on when it comes to negotiating is just to saying like, listen, when they give you a number, be completely agnostic, not a care in the world. I don't care what number they tell me unless it's a home run number. Assume they're coming up with some number that's absolutely ridiculous and it's not going to make any sense. And I just don't care. The number doesn't matter to me, because I'm telling you right now, if you called anybody blindly, randomly out of the blue, are they just going to say some random rock bottom number? No, like never. So just don't get caught up on the fact that they only want, that they want fucking $60 million for their $20 million deal. Who cares? Right. It makes no difference. Right. So just don't get caught up on it. So, because listen, you're doing all the right things. And if you can get one lead that's like that, you're going to get a lot more.
Right. And you said, unless it's a great number, then you're agnostic. But when are you not agnostic about it?
Yeah, it's just like, so the point is like, listen, if you call them up and you say, hey, like, do you want to sell your property or whatever? And then they're like, yeah, actually, we've been thinking about it. We're probably, here's the details on the property. They're actually very interested in giving you the financials. You can actually run the underwriting and you can actually hear from their, their tonality, their, how they're reacting to you on the phone. They walk through the whole process, and they're telling you they want a number that actually is essentially a pretty damn good deal. Those type of people, I'm like, listen, like, I'll write up an offer all day long. And when those same people, when they're coming to you and they say for a deal that like in this situation, what do you think that deal is probably worth?
18 at most.
Okay, cool. So I'm just saying hypothetically, these types of property, if they say 25, they might accept 22, right? They might accept 19. They might accept 17.5 for the right terms, So I'm just saying it's more of like it's the law of averages to know that like you're not going to just call somebody up and then like 90, it's like 100% of people are going to tell you this rock bottom number that they're going to agree to. So just know it's a law of averages to find those home run deals. And at the same time, don't take it too much to heart, because unless you submit an offer, you really never know what they'll accept, right? My rule of thumb is that it's not a dead deal until I've offered them a number and they've declined it, right? Because I don't know. Maybe they will accept it. They just told me underneath the right circumstances. And just because they won't sell it today doesn't mean in 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years they will.
And even if they say firm, you always put the offer in front of you. If they're like 25 firm, you still put something written in front of them.
Just say, like, and just preface it. I mean, don't be stupid. Just set it up the right way. Be like, listen, like I talked to a bunch of different partners of mine. Okay, I always like to use the word partners instead of clients, so they don't, And I pushed the deal. I pushed as hard as I possibly could. I showed them my financials, or if they didn't give you the financials, like, listen, based on the fact that you didn't give me financials, the most I can get you right now is an offer of 16 million. I know you told me 25, but you basically just told me 20. You could have said 70. It wouldn't have mattered. The best I can get you right now with no financials, based on only the information I can find online, is 16 million. Now, listen, if you're open to giving me financials, like I have got guys who can pay 20, 25, $50 million. I got the right people, but they're not going to pay you any number that you want, no matter. Even if you told me 17, I couldn't get it to you unless they can confirm the financials.
Without the numbers, right. Use that against them.
Yeah, and but also know that like nothing's against. It's like you're using it with them. I want to get you your number. Yeah, we're on the same side. Aaron, let's say you're the seller. Aaron, I want to get you 25. Heck, I wish I can get you 30. Right? Like I wanted. Like it doesn't really matter how much you want. I want to get you whatever you want for the property. I'm not just some guy who's going to offer you some lowball number so you hate my guts. If you tell me you want a number, I want to get you your number. But Aaron, we both know, and every these types of properties is 100% based off of financials. Like if your property brought in $0, then I probably could pay you 0 for it. However, if you show me great financials that supports 25 million, I'll pay you 25 million tomorrow. So are you open to at least sharing some financials? I'll sign an NDA. I'll sign whatever you need me to sign to show you that I'm real. I'll show you any side of the documents for the company that might be looking into the deal. I'm not here to, be some random investor who's done 0 deals and, I'm not just some random guy who's calling you up. And listen, it's okay for them not to trust you. Just know that.
Yeah, it's not. It's a random phone call.
Exactly. And until they see something legitimate and until they see something like real and they actually get to know you and who you are and what you're about, it's okay for them to be very, very skeptical.
I'd be skeptical too.
Exactly right. And you can say that to them. Listen, I'd be skeptical. Like they start giving you real pushback. Listen, I'd be skeptical too if some random guy called you out of the blue about a property that you're looking to sell because you probably get 3,000 phone calls a day about. Just go back with the same energy. Listen, this industry is a lot simpler than you realize. It's just that when you only have like one lead to deal with, you're kind of like, oh, but I really want this deal to work out, right? So like the more deal flow you get, the more opportunities you get, you're going to be like less and less concerned. I'm even more sometimes happy when like, oh, thank God they didn't accept my offer. Like I'm like, unless it like, don't get me wrong, I get excited, but it's just like, so many things that are going on. I'm like, oh my God, I got to deal with that right now. So let's shift gears a little bit and say like, okay, in your business right now, what do you feel like is working really well? And what do you feel like it needs some adjustment?
Hitting the call numbers, that needs work. The call ratio to getting a price is pretty decent. I assume it'll fall as it goes up, just because it seems a little unlikely to continue at that averages. But yeah, trying to hit the numbers, still working with the with leasing stuff. So trying to balance the two and really be able to get those calls in the morning. Calls are going. I find that emails work. Maybe it's just, these are all like professional people. A lot of these owners, find that emails work. In terms of getting your contact info is, through CoStar. Sometimes it's just not the best, even when you reach out to the, assistant, and wondering if you have any other ways that you get to people.
Yeah. So typically we use Reonomy and we use CoStar. Those are the two softwares we use, and we typically use them both to cross-reference each other. But those are the only softwares that we use. And then like if we're not pulling phone numbers from CoStar, typically it will be on Reonomy. If it's not on Reonomy, it'll be on
CoStar. Okay.
And for the most part, they're fairly accurate.
Yeah, they're solid. It's a lot of times it's just it's some landline that never know if you'll ever listen to, or something that's a landline that the message box is full.
Yeah, and listen,
and then you try to text it, and then like
we all get the same responses, and it's just a matter of like, listen, it's like same exact thing. It's law of averages, law of numbers, right? Like if you're reaching out to 100,000 of those numbers, you're probably going to get a few. You're going to get a few deals. So yeah, I mean, listen, from what it sounds like, listen, you're staying consistent, which is fantastic. You're doing the thing every single morning, which is awesome. And it's like when you're super consistent, and just know that over time, if you stick to your scripts and you're a sharp guy, you're going to like over periods of time, when you get enough deal flow, you're going to end up closing more business. How many weeks have you really been making the calls?
Maybe like 1.5 weeks. Yeah, not even two. Not even three.
Yeah, and listen, just like great. So like, listen, the fact that you even have the one deal for 25 million, that's an opportunity. And like, listen, like I'm not saying it's a dead deal, because I would definitely talk to your investor partners and say like, hey, like I think this deal is really decent at probably around the 16, 17, 18 million dollar number. Like they wanted 25. Or are you open to submitting a number at maybe 13 or 14 contingent on financials? Cool. And look, like just submit it, because you never know. I mean, I've had numbers where I've submitted a number and then they go like, okay, let's do the deal. I'm like, what? All right, let's do the deal. Like I never thought it would be possible, but like, you just never know unless you try. So listen, I'm proud of you for doing the 1 week's worth, the few weeks that you've been doing it, and then just know that like you stay this consistent over time, you're going to succeed.
The ratios are solid for now. So you got to keep doing it.
Yeah, just keep it up. That's great. So then let's talk about like shifts. Like at what part of your business also do you feel like you're struggling the most in, other than calls?
That, I feel like on the call, it can get a little hard to navigate, a little stiff sometimes. I feel like a lot of people are, maybe it's just projection, but sometimes people are a little short. And again, understand that it's skeptical. And when you get called out of the blue, you're probably not going to just be like, put down your busy in the middle of your day and just schmooze away for the next, 3 hours with some guy. But yeah, just working on, and I'm sure it comes with part of it, experience and getting used to it. But just just talking, going with the flow, feeling calm on the call. Yeah. If you have any tips just to how to, I guess match their tone is, I know, something that's mentioned. But.
Sure. So a big thing that like matching and mirroring tonality, rate of speech, voice, matching personality types, and just knowing that like, listen, if they're rushing you off the phone, my favorite thing to say is like, listen, do you got like listen, I don't want to take any more of your time. Do you got like maybe 2 more minutes for me? Like I just have a few quick questions I want to ask so I can get around. No, like that puts a peace of mind in their head. They're like, okay, I'm talking to this guy for 2 minutes. Like I'm good. You know what I mean? Like if they're that's if they're really rushing me off the phone. Or like if they're short, listen, I have a lot of people. There's people going to be short with you for the rest of your freaking life, right? And it's learning how to navigate those conversations where you need to be fast on your toes and know like what questions you can be asking, and know like how to twist and turn the conversation, and know that like, okay, if you're giving me real quick pushback, like, hey, listen, I like, I gotta go. Listen, Aaron, I know you gotta go. Like you got like 2 minutes for me. I got a serious client who's looking to move move 10 million bucks in the next, within the next 2 or 3 weeks. You got like 2 minutes for me? Be curiosity real quick. 10 million bucks, 3 weeks. Okay. Like, who knows if we're going to do a deal together? But the point is that I pique curiosity real fast, right? And just sometimes saying like, listen, you're just talking. Like you can almost say anything you want just to keep them on the phone,
Right.
It's less about what you say than how you say it, and like the piquing curiosity and just like, keep, because you don't need them for 3 hours, like you said. So
Right.
yeah, it's practice.
Yeah, it's something similar that you worked on, called the property up and have a serious buyer looking to send in a contract real quick, and I got a number out of that pretty quick.
Yeah, and listen, sometimes that'll work and sometimes it won't, and the point is that like most of the time it will, right? As long as you're kind and energetic and fun and smiling on the phone, people can feel that and people will want to do business with you. Because think about it, most of the time the people who are calling them are very, very like monotone people out of the country calling for other people, like BS scam cold callers, when they have a genuine person who's a local guy who understands the markets and like, hey, look, listen, I'm not here to just pull your leg and just, ask you stupid questions for nothing. I always like to say like,
right.
hey, my name is Henry with our, Ace Acquisitions. I run a small private equity fund where we typically buy deals between 2 and 20 million. Just curious, listen, I'm not here to waste your time. I know that we need to move like, 10 million to $12 million within the next 3 to 6 months because we're going through a couple 1031 exchanges. Your property at 123 Main Street came up as a possible option. Just curious if you're totally against selling the property. Curiosity, told them who I am, who I represent, what I'm doing, the reason, and then like, listen, you act fun, like obviously, like, I'd be smiling at the time that I'm doing that, and it kind of, and try to be fun and energetic on the phone. And typically after I say that, they're like, yeah, listen, I'm not interested in selling. Yeah, give me an offer. I have the same objections you do. It's not like, I hear anything different.
You've mentioned that on voicemails, you're a little lower toned, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because with voicemails, what happens is that, think about it. You get a voicemail and it's just like, hey, it's Henry with Ace Acquisition, right. You're just like, this is a freaking scam cold call or whatever the heck it is. But when you're like, hey, this is Henry, I'm going to ship something out if you don't call me by 8 p.m. tonight. And I know you need to go through your number. All right. And you just leave it real quick. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great day. Point is that like you get that, you're like, what the heck is that? Like all that happens is that the whole purpose of a voicemail is to pique curiosity at such a magnitude that you get a call back immediately. It drives action. That's the whole point. Because if you're like, hey, this is Henry, I'm a local real estate agent in the area. I was calling you because I want you to sell your property and I'm begging you for a listing. If you could, that would be awesome if you could call me back. You don't have to, but I would really appreciate it if you called me back. Call me back at this number. That would be fantastic. Thank you so much. Have a great day. I mean, who the heck is calling you back? I know it's like an oversimplification, but yes, like that, but that's what we sound like. Yeah. We leave random voicemails that are 2 minutes long about calling me back because I want to sell your property. Hey, John, I know, again, you assume the voicemail. Like, hey, I was looking for the property at 123 Main Street. I represent a fund and we're looking to move 10 to $20 million from a 1031 tax exchange. If you have any thoughts of possibly selling your property, we're looking to pay top dollar. I'm not some just phony baloney type of person. We need to buy a property in the next 30 days. Your property at 123 Main Street, met our criteria. Call me back at blank. You're straight to the point. You pique curiosity. Maybe they'll overpay for my property. Maybe they won't. Maybe I could sell it. Maybe I don't. You know what I'm saying? But even that, I feel like is sometimes too much. You go in saying that, and yes, you can still be the agent.
How do you make that?
On the contract that you write up, you write that you're the agent and you write that you're getting a commission. They don't ask any questions. They just want to net the same money. Like, and listen, you could just say to them, like, listen, are you a principal buyer? I'm like, listen, yes. Okay. The way it works is that my partners pay me a fee to help you find the deal. That's it. They pay me whenever I find a piece of property that they want to buy. They pay me a broker. I'm a part of the deal. They don't really, they don't care. They don't care.
They want their money.
They just want their money.
They want their money.
They just want their, exactly. And then on the like on the thing, I'll write 6% commission. I don't really care. No one asks any questions if it's the number that I told them, and that's it. There's just, again, I'm agnostic to it. It just doesn't mean much to me. I'm like, listen, I might as well go for broke. I'll go for broke every time. So with the last couple of minutes here, I really would want to make sure that we dive into any last minute questions you might have based on not only what we talked about today, but anything that you feel like in your business that you need the most support on.
Yeah. And so I think we spoke before. I think a good thing to talk about would be in networking. It's right where instead of just finding your average person, because the average person is not going to be buying a shopping center or a strip center. So I've spoken with, accountants, spoken with, the financial advisors, those people. A lot of these people work for some of these major, some of like the big four, accounting firms. They work, they work with the major groups. They don't deal with things that are a 20,000 square foot shopping center. Anything under 100,000 square feet. It's not. These people don't work on. So I guess besides a rich guy, just find a rich guy. Is there somewhere that you think, I could be spreading my network in?
Okay. So I'd say two things. Okay. And the first one's a pretty obvious one. The first one is that guy who owns the $25 million shopping center. Probably if you brought him a shopping center for 16 million, might want to buy another one. So my first clients ever and my partners, even to this day, I met through cold calling and they owned a property that I was calling on. And I said, hey, like, listen, like I find a lot of off-market opportunities that might fit your criteria. Are you totally against me looking for properties for you? Right? Are you totally against, if I brought you an off-market opportunity at a great price, would you consider buying it? Yeah, of course. Who's going to say no? 3 people in my entire career say no. Like 90-something years old. Like, I'm just not looking to buy it. I'm like, okay, like fine, yeah. The point is that like these are great opportunities and people to network with, and they're right underneath your nose. Because the people you're finding that are sellers or maybe not, they're not sellers, can be a fantastic buyer opportunity. And then guess what? When you go to meet them, you say, listen, I'd love to shake your hand, show you that I'm a real person, and maybe, chat a little bit about what you're looking for, chat a little bit about what you've done in the past and how, maybe we can do some business in the future together. You're going to see that these people actually want to get to know you, because if you can find them a great deal, you can make them $5 or $10 million, right? And they can be the next investor you're going to work a ton with.
Right, yeah. If you produce, they'll be your friends.
Exactly right. And guess what? A lot of them will take time. A lot of them will. I'm not saying all, but a lot of them, a good portion of them, will take you up on a meeting. A lot of them will take you up on an opportunity to take them for lunch, coffee, meet them at the property. At least a worst case scenario, meet at the property. So that's number one for meeting other. If you want to find investors, you want to find buyers, great clients you can find product for. The sellers you're prospecting for, which is why I'm such a fanatic about prospecting for sellers, because most sellers are also buyers. Okay, that's number one. Number two, if you are really looking for high class individuals, the wealthiest individuals have a lot of friends, right? They have friends who are also wealthy, who are also looking to buy product. Because guess what? If you call up a guy who because I'm sure one person, friend, family, friend of friend, who buys real estate. I'm imagining everyone who's listening, including yourself, Aaron, at least knows one person who owns some real estate. Point is that going to that person and saying, listen, I find a lot of off-market opportunities, and I'm sure that maybe like not 100% of them are going to fit your criteria. Who do you know that I should get in touch with who might be a good person for me to discuss possibly buying pieces of real estate with? Because I guarantee you, as long as you build some type of relationship with that person, which it sounds like you do, and I know most people have at least one relationship that is fairly decent to the point where you can ask, not tell, you can ask them, say, hey, if this piece of real estate doesn't meet your criteria, or a piece of real estate, because I have something for 25 million, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect for them, but I'm saying if this doesn't make sense to you, who do you know that I should speak with that might meet their criteria? Ask. And then guess what? The next person you get introduced to, they introduce you to John, the investor. Now you're speaking to John or Sally or whoever it is. And you're speaking to that person. You're going to do the same thing with that person after you build a deep relationship. And guess what? Now you have 2 people you can get another connection with. Now you're going to have 4. And then you have 4 people you can build another relationship with, and they're all going to connect you with another person. Now you have 8, right? Like this is how it multiplies. And listen, you don't need 70,000 investors. You need like 10, right? Like, or less, I think you need maybe a good 5, right? Who are just going to constantly perform that you can find opportunities with. And that'll make you enough money, right? Like, so it's not going to be endless, but does that kind of make sense for you?
Yeah.
To wrap out, I'd love for you to listen, you've been a part of the coaching program for a few weeks now. I'd love to get an understanding of why did you make the decision to jump headfirst into the coaching program? Like, why now?
I found that while I enjoy leasing, and I still am doing it and continue to do it, that the overall deals are a lot of times can be smaller, but yet still take, plenty of time to do. And I've, I know we've spoken about how, there's only a certain amount of ways that you can increase your income, and you could either be doing 1 trillion deals, so I could lease 1 trillion spaces. I just want to increase the amount I'm making per deal and not have to make, 1,000 deals a year. So that's where, that's kind of, because I just finished 3 leases, but I'd rather just sell 1 building, So I was looking to increase the size of the scope of the deal. And, I was gaining a lot through the videos, and I thought, it'd be best to just jump in and really, personal touch could really, I'm hoping, take it to the next level.
100%. Well, listen, man, I'm excited to see where you take it. And I know you're going to do fantastic, and I'm always here to support you. So thank you for being on the show, my friend. I always appreciate you so very much, and looking forward to connecting with you again next week.
Appreciate it, Henry.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a good day.
Take care.